What's up guys, and welcome to another Pokemon Sun and Moon video, and today we are going to be talking about the fact that we might have already seen the starter Pokemon, or the Final Evolution starter Pokemon, for Pokemon Moon. Yes, we're going one step further and we're declaring these leaked starters that were leaked a long time ago, not sorry starters but Final Evolutions, you guys know what I mean, are the Moon starters. Now, why are we talking about this in the first place? Some of you probably like, what? Well, let's go back all the way back to like May, I think it was, when in the reveal episode, reveal issue for Rockruff in Koro, as well as revealing Kamala, or Nekawala, it's Kamala, isn't it? Yes. As well as revealing that, we had, it was a little hit, it was like right at the bottom left corner of one of the pages, just saying that Rockruff and the starters shared a secret. Now back then it was like, oh, maybe they can all use Z moves, maybe they can all access this new mechanic, maybe they can do that, but no. Because of course recently it was revealed that Rockruff has two forms for its evolution, which is of course Lycanroc. Now, one is exclusive to Pokemon Sun, one is exclusive to Pokemon Moon, so evolving Rockruff in Pokemon Sun, you get yourself a midday form. Then evolve it in Pokemon Moon, you get yourself a midnight form. Two different forms. They have the same typing, but different heights and weights, abilities, so it's likely that the same typing would be possible for this sort of mechanic. Now, is it possible that this sort of secret that Rockruff has is the secret that it shares with the starter Pokemon? Well, okay, sure, Rockruff has one evolution for Sun, one evolution for Moon. Why not do the same for the starter Pokemon? Now, it's not obviously a different evolution, it's the same evolution, but it's just a different form. One for Sun, one for Moon. And of course, this would be a big step, I suppose, for starter Pokemon, since Generation 1 we've had just, the same thing all the way along, nothing too special going on at all. So why not have two different evolutions? Again, Pokemon would be pushing the trading thing, so like if you have a friend that has Sun, you want to get the Sun evolution, you can trade your Rowlet over for them to evolve and whatnot. And then obviously it also promotes buying both games as well. Now this split could happen either on the first evolution, so when Litten, Rowlet and Popplio first evolve, or it could be after their second evolution. It could be either one, we really don't know at the moment, because obviously Rockruff doesn't seem like a free long line. It looks like it's just going to be two Pokemon long, as a too long line, so it makes sense that possibly it could happen either on the second or the third split for the starters. So why are we saying that we have particular Moon starters? Well, of course, remember it was a few months ago in what's been dubbed the Chinese leak, where we had, of course, spoilers, these three images revealed and leaked onto the internet. Now these look to be sort of concept art, or sizing art, I can't really think of the right term for it, for the anime. So when they draw up they decide on the design, so the people that design it and people that know what it looks like, draw all these different poses, so that those working on the anime and other people designing models possibly can see it from different angles in different areas. Because obviously if you just give it the Sugimori art, they don't know how its back looks, they don't know how it looks in certain poses, how its limbs behave, so they do these sort of mock-up designs and different forms and poses and attacking and stuff like that, so that people working on it that aren't the ones that design them themselves know how to make them look, basically. Now, these came out when it wasn't too much of a special thing. It was like, okay, maybe they're real, maybe they're not. But then once we had the reveal of the sort of, I can't remember what we called that, trial leaders, of course Mallow being one of them, we saw that in the Litten Final Evolution art, you can see here we have a young girl sat down with pigtails and a flower in her hair, looking very like Mallow, which of course would suggest that this is actually real, and they were leaked because obviously Mallow features in the art, and it was a while before Mallow was even revealed to the public. So either it's a really, really lucky fake, or they seem to be very real. As well as this leak also described a few other things, one of them being the fact that there will be no gyms in the region, so obviously that's true. Another one being that there will be some Pokemon based on a sea cucumber, hello Pukimuku, as well as a rugby monkey, hello Persimmon. Obviously it's not necessarily a rugby monkey, but it's a monkey that's holding a ball. Rugby monkey seems close enough, as well as also mentioning there's a snowman Pokemon too, as well as a dolphin Pokemon. Those are obviously yet to be revealed. We might see them soon now. Also mentioned that Rockruff's evolution is a werewolf, which of course is very similar to Lycanroc, which in its midnight form is a werewolf. Now, why are these particularly moon moon evolutions? If they are real, sure, why can we say they're all moon evolutions as opposed to being sun evolutions or a mix of them? Well, let's take a look at them closer. We have obviously the final evolution of Rowlet, which is based on an owl and an archer, the final evolution of Litten, which is based on sort of a wrestler, as well as obviously some, a cat, a big cat, and then we have Popplio's final evolution, which is a mix of a sea lion and a siren. So, Rowlet's final evolution, this owl, it's been dubbed Robin Root, of course, it's just one of the fake names out there, but obviously it's based on an owl. To start with, owls are generally nocturnal creatures, they work during the night best, so obviously Pokemon Moon does fit that. During the night, evolve during the night, you become an owl. Now, of course, Rowlet is an owl anyway, but it's not to say that the Sun evolution, the other evolution form of evolution for Rowlet wouldn't be less owl-like, I guess you could say, maybe a Griffin-like Pokemon, so less owl-like, whereas this final evolution you can see here is purely, based exactly on an owl. There isn't too much of a difference you could see here. And to add to this, it has a hood around its head. It's very hood-like, it's almost, like a Robin Root, so Robin Hood, Archer, a robber sort of thing. Which of course would lead to, hooded at night. It seems like a very mysterious and dark Pokemon. It's got its wings to sort of shade itself as well. So it sort of fits the Moon's theme. Then we have, if we take a look at Popplio's final evolution, you can see here, it's based on a siren, as I mentioned. Now, sirens are linked to the night as well, because of course the stories were that sirens would lure in unsuspecting sailors at night by the singing voice, and then they would end up crashing the boats on the rocks, for example. That's sort of how the story goes there. So that's the link in there to the Moon form, the Moon evolution, Moon link, the Night link to Popplio's final evolution. Now we have, of course, Litten's final evolution in the centre, which doesn't have as strong a link. Of course, you could say, okay, it's got some, it looks like maybe a fire fighting, but a lot of people are saying fire dark, which I do agree with. It does look a bit more like a fire dark. It's like a menacing Pokemon. It's not like a strong Pokemon, it's more menacing. And the dark type, I guess you could say, fits with the night because it's dark. But the other thing to point out is that it looks very similar to Lycanroc's Midnight form, which you can see it's bipedal, it's got arms, it's very similar body form, and it's very similar in the fact that its hair is scruffy, whereas obviously with Lycanroc's midday form, it's on 4 legs, it's sort of a bit more preened, I suppose you could say, whereas the Midnight version is a bit more rough and ready, I guess you could say. And there also seems to be a slight correlation between Pokemon Moon and Pokemon Sun, in the fact that Pokemon Sun is possibly based on sort of beasts, and Pokemon Moon is possibly based on humanoid figures, because of course, for example, if we look at these 3 here, just quickly, we have Robin Root stood on 2 legs, we have I can't remember what the name for the Popplio one, but the Popplio final evolution, yes, okay, it's not exactly humanoid, but it is based on a siren, which is related to humans. And of course, looking at Litten's evolution here, you can see it's on, again, bipedal, same with Lycanroc. And even links into the Ultra Beasts as well. For example, Ultra Beast, we have UBO2. UBO2 Beauty is humanoid, and of course she is in Pokemon Moon. Whereas in Pokemon Sun, you have UBO2 Absorption, which is more of a beast. It's got huge muscles, it's beastly. And in terms of the monkey Pokemon we've had recently revealed, Persimmon for Pokemon Sun, and Orangu Sage, I can't remember his name, for Pokemon Moon. Not quite as obviously different because they're both fairly humanoid, they're both based on apes, but there could be some sort of link, some general link between these. So it's possible that these are the Moon Pokemon as well. And not to mention that in the leak, the Chinese leak, yes, we had these 3 images revealed, but they also provide that extra information, and they explicitly mentioned that Rockruff evolves into a werewolf. Now this could be, of course, that they were playing Pokemon Moon in the time they could, play it maybe, and obviously they evolved Rockruff and it evolved into a werewolf, and they got the starter images maybe from the same sort of source, and they didn't know. At this point they had no idea that there were 2 different sort of lines, 2 different forms for Sun and Moon, so they didn't mention anything about it because they were playing from Pokemon Moon, they had information about Pokemon Moon, and they had no reason to believe otherwise. So they saw the werewolf, they saw these 3 starters, and it all links in together with the one game, as opposed to being able to see both games, for example. So who knows exactly whether this is, but of course there's this open possibility. If these are the Pokemon Moon final evolution starters, we have 3 more to see, even if the Alvia ones that they leaked before. The good thing is we can see 3 more in the future as well, with any luck, of course. Of course, evolutions for Popplio, Litten, and Rowlet. So what I want to know from you guys is, do you think these are the Pokemon Moon final evolutions? Do you think that's the case? Or do you think it's just, we don't really know, we can't really tell quite yet, because they just follow the similar trends of the line? And Let me know what you think of them to start off with, as well as what sort of alternatives would you like to see. Yes, okay, maybe Litten's evolution here is Fire Dark. Would you like to see a quadruped lion, big cat Pokemon that's maybe a Fire Poison type or something along those lines? And would you like to see a Griffin maybe for Rowlet's final evolution in Pokemon Sun or Pokemon Moon alternatively? And let me know what you think to see about Popplio as well. I'll be enjoying and looking forward to reading your comments, but for now this is going to be it for me for today, so I shall be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.